boring, but that's okay. So basically how we're gonna do it, just kind of a conversation. I don't know if y'all have like seen focus groups and YouTube videos or whatever. I don't know where I saw mine, but it's really informal. It's just kind of like a conversation. And it shouldn't take that long. So we have to do this for our class and have it on film. So please try and take it seriously. I know that some of us know each other. But first, let's just go around and stop.
This is 40% of their grades.
Yeah, it's like 40 words. Okay, so let's just go around and have everyone give your name, your year in school, and your hometown, just so we can all kind of get acquainted with everyone.
Hi, I'm Alexia. I'm a junior, and I'm from Holly Springs, North Carolina.
I'm Brennan. I'm a senior from Matthews, North Carolina.
I'm Kelly. I'm a junior from Wilmington, North Carolina.
My name is Madison, and I'm a junior, and I'm from Kinston, North Carolina.
I'm Hayden. I'm a junior, and I'm from Hurricane, West Virginia.
I'm Leah. I'm a junior, and I'm from Cary, North Carolina.
I'm Justin. I'm a senior, and I hail from Basking Ridge, New Jersey.
I'm Taylor. I'm a senior, and I'm from Salisbury, North Carolina.
I'm Meredith. I'm a senior, and I'm from Chapel Hill.
I'm also a junior. I'm from Cary, North Carolina.
All right, now that we are all great friends, so we're going to start out by asking some general questions. This focus group is about your relationship with your smartphones and how smartphones affect your relationships. So that's kind of what we're going to be talking about today. So we just discussed, and if you want to answer the question, just go ahead and start talking. Obviously, be cognizant of other people who are answering around you. But if it gets really disorganized, then we'll do the raising hands. That's kind of awkward. So we'll start out. When did everyone get their smartphones?
First, can we define smartphone? Is this like BlackBerry or just strictly iPhone?
Or like the flip phones that we got in like
Yeah, that might have had really
Like
slow internet.
I don't think a Razor counts. as
Yeah, that's not-
smartphone.
Yeah, because they like tried to get all like cool with apps and stuff on those.
Is it a
but they're not
smartphone or
that smart.
touchscreen phone?
I would say BlackBerry, but that's just my personal.
BlackBerry and iPhone.
Oh yeah.
Android.
I would say 3G.
And Android. Yeah, anything that has like apps on it that you like that has Facebook
Yeah,
or
it's
Twitter
like
on it.
internet
Okay,
access.
social media.
So
Yeah,
middle
that has
school.
social media apps on
Middle
it.
school?
It's
ninth grade.
Probably high school.
I was middle
High
school,
school,
I think.
I think I was in 10th grade.
I had the BlackBerry
I was a
Pearl.
senior. I think I was a senior when I first
I
got a
was
smartphone.
same.
I had a flip phone before that.
Okay. So around kind of before college, maybe some in middle school.
Yeah.
Okay. So how has your communication changed since having a smartphone? Go ahead.
Well, I know for me, I moved away from like Raleigh to Wilmington right when I got that, so it was an easier way to like keep in touch with everyone that I moved away from, and then also way easier to also make plans and like see your friends, and then it got really competitive with Facebook photos and stuff. That was great.
It's
Lots
also
of
like
likes.
my main method of finding out the news. I only use my phone. I look at Twitter and I get this thing called Skim on my email every morning and I read it. So that's how I like keep connected with the world, current events.
I'm in the same boat as them, like in terms of all that, but like as far as like talking, I don't talk on the phone hardly at all now that I have a smartphone. As before, when I had a flip phone, I would have like phone conversations rather than just texting or email or social media interactions.
I only call people over like 50. My parents.
Really?
Yeah, exactly.
See, I'm the opposite. I guess living away from school, I'll call people or like even FaceTime, so I'll use my smartphone for that. And, like I call my parents like every time I walk to and from class or like just different things like that. And call, I guess, family. and
So would you
friends.
say you use your smartphone, I guess, for more like complex interactions?
Sure.
So how often do you use your smartphone? Not have to, I mean, obviously no one knows, like, you pull it out 20 times a day, but in general, is it always with you? Like, do you feel comfortable giving it at home when you go out, or?
Probably don't go more than an hour without checking every day. Except for when I'm sleeping.
How often do you think you check social media?
At least
Like
a ton.
How many times a
once every
day?
20 minutes probably.
Yeah.
I probably like I probably open my like social media apps a good 30 times a day.
Especially when you're bored, it's just
Yeah, if
easier
you're
to,
like in class, you like search for stuff to do on your phone because you're so.
That is so
Or, like,
crazy.
even-
People need to tweet.
And you know, like you're in class, if your Pinterest is like blowing up with your friends too.
Yeah.
And it's not even just that, but also just like games that have gone viral, like Candy
Flappy
Crush.
Bird.
I'm terrible at that. I will always just be like sitting there, and if I'm bored, I'll pull it up and just like play it instead of like talking to
Last
people
year I went on
around
the
me.
2048 thing.
Oh, I still play that. That might have been why I was a little bit late because I got distracted.
Like if I, like me personally, if I had to go without my phone, like if I got it taken away for 24 hours, I'd be fine. But when I have it, then I'm like constantly checking it, and like it's just like a go-to method for like when you're bored or when you want to get distracted or something.
So if the rest of you all had your phone taken for 24 hours, do you think you'd be fine with it, or do you think
That happened to me this summer. Like my phone broke and I couldn't get it fixed for 24 hours. And while it was broken, I ended up like going on my computer on like Twitter. So it kind of didn't.
I don't know.
I was like fine without it, but that was like how I communicated with people, or like Facebook.
Like if my phone was broken, I don't necessarily think I would need it. Like I wouldn't necessarily feel like super lost without it. Like I know if that's happened before, my main concerns have been like my parents are gonna think that I'm like lost somewhere. Like just like make sure I tell them where I am, and if there's like people I know they're trying to get in contact with me, I'll like tell them I've lost my phone, like just Facebook message me or something, so I'll check it a couple times. But like I wouldn't check it probably 20 times a day like I would on my phone.
Well, Well, over like spring break when we like didn't have our phones for 7 days, like it was almost like kind of nice because your parents knew like where you were, you didn't have to worry about it. It was like nice not to check things, but then like the second we got off, like we were all just sitting there like, what did everyone else do for spring break? Like let's check Instagram. Oh my God, Twitter, like they did this, and like that was how we found out what people did. And like even though it was nice not to have it, the second we did, we were like
We were on our phone for
the rest of the day.
Does anyone legitimately feel like anxious or like nervous, or maybe even like paranoid without their smartphone sometimes?
I get really anxious if it dies and I'm like out. I'm like, what if people texting me?
I feel like I was like that more in like high school than I was now.
But do y'all ever consciously put your phone, like, say you're studying or something, upstairs?
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
I put it away if I'm studying. 'Cause
I have to.
Mine's always on Do Not Disturb.
Okay.
if I'm studying.
So you have to take some measure to
Oh, yeah.
stay
They're
yourself.
like, oh, yeah,
Right.
sure.
You can't just
Like
sit
throw it
there.
across the room.
But even on my computer, my messages still pop up, and I have to turn off the notifications, or I still
How
do.
the hell do you do that?
You can like go to a specific message, and it's like under the settings, like right click.
On a Mac, right?
Yeah.
And
I've
there's
been trying
an
to do
app.
that for a year.
Yeah.
There's
You can like specify like if it's a group message, you can turn that off, or if it's a specific person, you don't have to. So you can pick and
There's
choose.
also a self-control app which you can pick which like websites you don't want to go to, and it actually works because like you'll go to click on Facebook and it'll say like will like denied. And you're like, oh dang, like I shouldn't be on here anyways, and then you'll go back.
Oh, see, I would just turn it off.
Yeah, I would just go
You
turn the
can't
app
turn it
off.
off though, that's the thing.
Ooh.
Even if
So-
you reset it.
So how often like do you reference your smartphone in conversation? Like when you're talking with your friends, like, oh, did you see what so and so put on Instagram? Or oh my gosh, do you see that we from the Daily Cargill? Or so, like how often would you say that comes into conversation?
Daily conversation I have. I mean, that's like kind of what our lives revolve around. Like the whole scandal today was like all my conversations, and that, I found out about that via Twitter.
Same.
Yeah, for focus group video camera, the UNC scandal. With sports.
Scandal.
And then I talk about like what somebody tweeted or what somebody put on Instagram all the time.
You get it?
Yeah, that's another one.
So how do you feel when you're talking to someone who is on their smartphone, but it's not necessarily part of the conversation? Like they're,
Like when you're talking to someone and they're on their smartphone.
yes.
I get really annoyed when you ask them something
And they don't pay
hear you.
attention.
Macy does this sometimes.
And all they say is,
They don't respond.
Or they'll be like, what? Like you'll say something, and they kind of catch the end of it, and then want to know. Be like, what? I'm like, I'm not repeating myself.
I do it too. I think you just get really involved in your smartphone when you're having a conversation.
Yeah.
But I do know it's rude. My parents get mad.
yeah, I was gonna say it's a generational thing because if I'm like out to like lunch like with my grandma and I pull out my phone, she's like not having it. She just thinks it's like beyond rude that like if she's gonna take me out to lunch that I would be like focused on anything else. But I mean it's still rude, I guess, like with friends, but even like with parents and grandparents when they didn't grow up with smartphones, they're like not.
With your friends, though, do you ever wish that like they didn't have their smartphone? Like when you're talking to them, do you ever think like I wish they were listening to what I was saying? Or like do you
Definitely
think
sometimes, yeah.
A lot of the time, I like if I'm with someone and I'm on my smartphone, I just have absolutely no realization of like this might be rude. But if they were on their phone, I'd be sitting there like, wow, this is really annoying right now.
I think like one-on-one, my friends and I are good about like not going on our phones, but the second you get in like a group setting, then everyone's just like on their phones and like no one notices that a conversation like isn't actually happening.
So it's fair to say that everyone gets annoyed when you're trying to talk to someone and they're on their phone, but also you notice that same quality in yourself.
Yes.
You see yourself.
I mean, if they keep responding to me, I could care less if they're on their phone, as long as they're talking. If they're like actively being distracted, then that's annoying. But
So when you're the one that's on your smartphone in the conversation, do you feel like it's easy to manage your whatever you're doing on your smartphone and the conversation with someone?
I think it depends on what you're doing. Like if I'm scrolling through Instagram, like really focused on that, or if it's a text, I might be more engaged. Like it just depends on.
Yeah, a lot
what
of times
exactly
I
you're
catch
doing.
myself being like she said, like, wait, what did you just say? Because I don't like if I'm texting somebody, I don't know what people are saying to me as much as if I were scrolling through Instagram or something.
So how often do you think this happens when there's kind of like a one-sided conversation? Like in your interactions, we say it's like majority of the time you kind of get annoyed when someone else is on their phone, or you don't see it happening that much in your friend group?
I think it depends on like what situation it's in, because if it's a friend I haven't seen up for a long time and we're like going to dinner or something and they're on their phone, like that's really obvious and really annoying. But like if it's like my roommates and I and we're like hanging out like casual, like and I want to say something to them but they're on their phone, like it's not something to get mad about. Or
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. That happened to me like when I was at home. I went to dinner with a friend who I hadn't seen in a really long time, and she literally was on her phone the entire time we were at dinner, and I was like, I haven't seen you in forever.
That's when it's really.
That's when that really bothered me. But if I'm like coming back from fall break, sitting on like our beds talking, it didn't. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not a big deal.
Or even if it's like not necessarily like if you haven't seen them in a long time, or just like if it's a one-on-one situation. Like my boyfriend and I see each other all the time, but like when we're just at his house and he's on his phone, that doesn't bother me. But if we go to a date, like we're at dinner and he's just sitting there texting or like checking sports or something, then I get like really annoyed by that. So I think it's just kind of like the setting. Like if you're supposed to be like out like paying attention to each other.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it depends if you're like casually talking, just like kind of exchanging thoughts back and forth. I don't really care, but if you're having a conversation, you're like looking at your phone, then I would get annoyed.
So like on any given day, if someone were to walk into your like house or apartment or dorm, do you think that they would see, and like everyone's in a common area, do you think that they would see you on your smartphones?
Yes.
Yes. Everybody in my house would be on there. They would have them either next to them or they would be texting or looking through like social media.
I mean, I wouldn't say that, but maybe it's a guy thing.
I think girls do.
I like lose my phone all the time in my apartment, and I just like don't look for it sometimes. I just find it later on accident.
So you notice it less. You think that like maybe
I mean, I feel like I just use it a lot less than a girl would. Just, I don't know.
I think that's
I
right.
agree.
I think
Yeah,
with like social media, like we all follow way more girls than we do guys, and guys aren't sitting there wondering what we're all doing. And I mean, maybe they'll text about plans when they're not going to chat about like their date the night before,
Or, like,
just
how
like
they
stuff like that that like girls like love to do on their phones. Most guys, I feel like, are more laid back about it.
I think it's also whether or not the phone is like present. If it's like somewhere else, like obviously you don't think about it as much, but if it's like right next to you, you're gonna be on it like all the time. Like,
Do you
it's just
ever
a
feel like
habit.
you're missing out though, like on life, or like, you know what I'm saying, like say you're on a trip or like with your like friends or something, and you're doing something like really like personal with your family or your friends, and you're just on your phone the whole time. Like, do you look back and realize that you may have missed out, or do you just not notice it?
Oh, I get a beating if I'm on
I guess I do. I remember last Thanksgiving, I realized I was on my phone like all day one time, and I was like, okay, I probably should put this away because I'm like with my grandparents and I never see them. But I also feel like, this sounds really bad, but if I'm on like a trip and I don't check my phone for a week, I feel like I'm missing out on like the world. Like I feel like I don't know what happens.
Well, also, like, for me, I don't necessarily notice that, like, I missed out on stuff while on my phone, but, like, I went to my grandparents' house for, like, my grandma's birthday a couple weeks ago, and I left my phone in my purse for the full, like, 4 or 5 hours, but then I noticed, like, oh, wow, I talked to so many more of my family members for way longer because I didn't have my phone, but I don't know if I necessarily would have noticed the time I would have missed if I had my phone, if that makes sense.
So do you feel like you're able to have like maybe stronger conversations with people when you leave your phone upstairs or in your purse?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're more in the moment.
So how long, on that note, do you usually go without your phone? That's what you say. Or do you go without your phone ever? Do you ever find yourself putting your phone down in day-to-day life? Like maybe when
not studying.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I'm sleeping. When I'm
But
not.
do you sleep with your phone like right next to you?
Yeah, I sleep
Yeah,
on
the
my
thing
phone.
is that, like, yeah, it's become our clock. So now, like, for me, if I wake up in the middle of the night, I want to check what time it is, and then maybe I have some texts, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just read them. And then I'm like up reading my texts, maybe I'll respond to them.
Look through Instagram.
And then maybe I'll like check those 4 Snapchats I have, and then it's 4 a.m. and I'm on my phone, like on social media. Yeah. So.
Right. Well, I also can't like Macy knows this being my roommate. Like I always like have to be on my phone before I go to bed. Like if I'm laying there, I'm not just gonna like lay there and turn the light off. I'll have my phone. And that's when I'm also reading through Twitter and Instagrams. That's like what puts me to sleep is like reading stuff on my phone.
Yeah, for me, reading the Skim, because I always get it emailed to me before I wake up, and
That's what I read every
that's how I
morning.
wake up. It like gets me like
I lay in bed and read.
adjusted.
I've even felt sometimes I've like lost sleep because of my phone when I'll stay up late, like, you know, checking Yik Yak or checking Vine, whatever.
Or watching
And-
videos.
Yeah.
Videos.
And I'll look up the clock and realize that, you know, an hour and a half has gone by and then you don't get as great a sleep. Would you all agree with that maybe?
Yes.
Definitely. I get so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna watch this one more funny video that somebody posted on Facebook, and then I watch like 6.
So have you ever had a miscommunication over text that could have gone differently?
Like face to face.
Oh,
Trying to think of like a
I'm trying to
specific
think.
example, but
Any
I know I
argument that I've ever had with anyone.
I think people are so used to texting something, so you can like really think out what you're gonna say. Versus when you're talking to somebody on the spot, you're like on the fly, and there's more, I feel like, emotion. And when like if you're really angry about something, you can maybe like type something out and then go back later and read it before you send like a really angry text or something like that.
But do you think that like it would go better in person? Like, do you think that? If
I think it
you didn't
depends on the
talk it out-
situation.
Yeah, I think it's always better talking in person. I also think
Yeah.
text can be misinterpreted. Like some people like to put periods at the end of their sentences, but like I think that's sassy. And if you put a period at the end of your sentence, I'm gonna think you're mad at me.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Or some people think that if you like
automatically.
do exclamation points, you're like really excited. I'm like,
just do
no,
that.
I just do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think what can happen is like if we have like group messages, but like let's say like I'm texting one person about the plans and she's texting another person. That's like when like I've had trouble with communication where like if you're not like all talking like in person or you're not all talking together and you're going through people, like communication's not gonna be completely clear.
Yeah.
And I've had plans been like skewed or like messed up because different people thought different things.
We also say like you maybe get offended or if you're not in certain groups.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
What about stuff you see like on, I guess, social media? Like, does that have an effect? Like, say you're not going out or like you're not doing something and you see stuff on social media. Are you like jealous, upset? Like, what happens?
Yeah, in the beginning of the summer when I was at home for a week and everyone was in Chapel Hill and like going out and having lots of fun, I literally came back 2 days early because everyone was sending me like pictures of like having fun and doing stuff, and I wanted to come back. But
That's crazy.
So let's get back to like how you analyze text messages. Would everyone kind of say that they maybe overanalyze or read too much into text where they wouldn't have done that if you were talking to
You
me?
can't add,
I think it's-
you can't add tone to text, which is the problem.
Yeah.
Like-
So it's like, what do they mean by
Because
that?
yeah, I'll send something that was like a joke, or somebody will be like, "Damn, I didn't know you were that pissed," and I would like not at all. Like, I don't know. That would go on a lot better in person. Things like that.
Yeah, I think it depends on who the person is you're texting. Like, obviously, if it's someone you've texted for a long time, you know if they're being sarcastic or like little things like that. But if it's a complete stranger, someone you're like, just like if a guy you're just starting to talk to or something like that, you have no idea.
Worst.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think a prime example is like if I text my mom, she literally sounds like she hates me. She'll like put like periods after every single thing.
Yeah, my mom would like K period. And I'm like, Mom, that makes me think you're mad. She's like, that's like a short text. Like, that's the abbreviation.
That's like has to happen with so many other texts I just read on a daily basis. Like I pick them up and I'm like, oh wow, sorry, like didn't mean to offend you. But then later it's cool. Nothing
Right, if they're like
happens.
dot 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 at the end and you're like, oh
does the
god.
dot does
Sometimes
that mean
you're like
you're
2
just
dots,
continuing,
3 dots.
or
I
like-
don't know.
Big difference between 2 and 3 dots.
But see, like no one ever like said that rule. It's just something that our culture, I feel like, has created through like technology with stuff like that, like with the K period or K without a period. Like
Or
no one's ever said that. Like
Yeah,
that
or the
means you're
okay.
mad, but like that's just like what it's come to.
So have you ever had someone like get mad at you or like say that like they thought that you were mad at them after you maybe sent a text that was short, they perceived as short or
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
you don't think of any specific examples of maybe just a random miscommunication?
I'm sure the 4 of us roommates have done that last year.
Yeah, I feel like who didn't do the dishes?
Yeah.
2 questions.
In group text, I've seen it. I feel like more because there's like a lot of people talking at one time. So you kind of say stuff, and then people will be like, "Wait, what?" Like they'll say something back, and then it'll just kind of go back and forth.
and then it's awkward because everybody else sees
Yeah.
it too.
So group texts are kind of supposed to like expedite communication and make it so you can talk to like all the people you want to talk to in one group, but do you think it actually kind of makes it more complicated than useful?
It depends on the situation. I think group texts are useful though. Sometimes they get kind of annoying because everybody like wants to add their input.
I wish you could turn it off notifications.
Yeah.
You can.
You can.
now. It's the greatest thing
I
ever.
haven't updated.
I haven't either.
So for the bigger picture, you know, smartphones are supposed to make communication easier, but do you think that they harm communication or facilitate communication?
It really depends, I think. In some regards, it can help with group chats or figuring out things with multiple people when you can't meet with them or long distance, stuff like that. But it can definitely harm face-to-face stuff you could otherwise have face-to-face or harm relationships that if you're constantly communicating through text that you'd be better off meeting with the person in person.
Yeah, I definitely think it harms personal skills. Like people, like the younger generation isn't gonna know how to talk face to face, things like that.
It's also like totally changed the like dating/relationship game. And like people start their relationships through text where it used to be like you take somebody on a date, you don't like talk via text.
And my parents don't understand that.
I don't.
Yeah.
So do you think that smartphones have essentially eliminated formal dates?
Yeah.
Yes.
Whoa,
Definitely.
no. What?
I mean, I don't know. If it's
No,
just
like
smartphones.
people still go on dates, but that's not like the main thing of a relationship. Like for my mom, like my dad would have to call the home phone, like ask to speak to my mom. He'd go pick her up at the front door. Like they don't text you to say like I'm
Here.
outside.
Yeah,
Or like be there in 10.
Maybe not just smartphones, but I would say that's a definitely contributing factor.
Yeah, even with social media, because the guy can just like Facebook message you or text you, and that's like him like spending time with you, like getting to know you. Versus before with our parents, the guy would like come
to get
take
to
you
know
out,
him.
and that's how he got to know you. Versus like just talking to you.
I had a friend who was dating like an older guy, like I think he was 27 or something, and we're 20, and she was wondering why he wasn't like texting her all the time and was feeling like ignored when I think
He just has like a
didn't
job.
know, yeah, like he's a normal person. Like he didn't text her. He had a job. He like knew how to communicate in person and like didn't know that you're supposed to like talk to a 20-year-old girl like every 5 minutes over text. Because they're
So do you think that it like mostly affects just like the like day-to-day relationship with your friends, or do you also see it in your like romantic relationships as well? It doesn't even have to be a formal like you're dating someone, but if you know there's now this kind of concept of talking, which is like an in-between stage of like dating and maybe just like meeting someone. So do you ever see it harming? Do you see it harming both friendship and relationship?
Yes.
I think relationship more than friendship.
Yeah.
I agree.
What about with your parents too?
I think it's a nice way to communicate with your parents. You just be able to like send them a text. Like if you're out, be like, hey, I made it home tonight. Instead of like if my mom's worried that I didn't make it home at midnight or however late it is, I can send her a text, and when she wakes up, she knows I made it home. Things like that versus like I'm not gonna call my mom at 1 a.m.
Yeah, I don't think it's hurt my relationship with my parents. I think it's like only helped.
I think it's well. I think it's helpful like when we're at school and you can't see them. Like when I went home for fall break, I tried to not be on my phone like at dinner because my parents want to know like how's school been. But I think that's kind of why it's like it's nice to have when we're at school to be in contact with them. But at home, it can like if you're with them at like the dinner table, then like stuff like that, communication can be.
So as all of heads on analysis said, it affects romantic relationships more than others. Why do you all think that is?
Like we talked earlier, it kind of took, I don't know if you call it the chivalry out of it, but
yeah, I mean, that's
just
really
like guys don't, I feel like, I mean, it opens you out, but they don't put any effort into it anymore. Like you never get to go out on a date or like they'll just text you versus like, I feel like actually trying to like
Also, I think like when you're with friends, like you're with them all the time, and so if you're just like laying around watching TV, like you'll be on your phone and it's not a big deal. But like if you're sitting with your boyfriend where you're supposed to be like engaging and like hanging out because like you're not with them all the time, then it's like weird to be on your phone the whole time. Like with friends, it's like normal to just lay around and be on your phone, but.
So if you obviously all recognize the effects or the negative effects and you continuously see them, why do you personally rely on your phone and like do these actions yourselves?
I think it's like honestly an addiction. Like I seriously question if I am addicted to my phone every day, which I definitely am. Like I think it's just a cultural thing that we've like become addicted to, and I like sometimes I'll try to like put my phone down for a couple hours, but then I'm like, I wonder how many texts I got. Like I wonder how many people texted me. I wonder how many like Snapchats I got while I was gone. I honestly don't have an explanation for it. Probably just because we grew up that way and we've had phones since we were in like 6th grade. And it's gonna keep getting worse.
Anyone else think they're maybe addicted or have this like kind of invisible like it's you're drawn to your phone?
Well, I even think just like not only do I like am always checking my phone, but even like when you're walking to class and like you don't want to make eye contact with someone because it's awkward, you just immediately go to your phone. Like, and I guess there's not really much else you could do other than like just say hi to them. But like literally, I know I'm so guilty of that. If I see someone and I don't want to make eye contact, I'm like, oh, texting. Like I have a friend that I'm talking to, and so it's not so much as an addiction, it's like that's just always our go-to for like any situation, I feel like. But
I think that also like emphasizes the like lack of personal skills everyone's gonna have, especially the generation below us.
That's yeah, it's gonna keep getting worse because I know this kid I babysit got her phone when she was 7.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I was
like most of us, it was like
grader who had
middle
an iPhone.
school.
Well, yeah, and I mean, I know a lot of times I use my phone as like just a source if I'm like bored and like want to be distracted by something. But my little sister is a senior in high school and they use their phone as like a sense of like validation that they're like have a lot of friends or like got a bunch of likes or something like that. Like for me, like I wouldn't really care, but them, like my sister ever had like 100 likes, 120 likes. It's like so ingrained in them to like that makes you like I don't know.
So I guess that's like
their like word.
Yeah. That was like our like top friends on MySpace. I remember when that was like the biggest thing.
I mean, I'm and y'all, we're all the same age. You have to say that we do that too, though, because
I'm like broke my
who's
legs
this person's best friends on Snapchat? How many likes did I get? And it causes fights, or you're like, they're doing this and I'm not there. Like, do y'all see that, or is it?
Yeah.
It's not the only middle.
Yes, I think it's worse and worse.
Yeah,
I think it's worse than worse. Like now we care, but it's not like I'm not gonna go delete a picture because I got 20 likes versus like 6. Yeah,
no,
they
will. But also they like all will like follow each other whether they know them or not. Like there's a girl who I grew up with who I think is now a junior and she has like almost 3,000 followers. And I saw her over summer and I was like, you don't like know all them, do you? She was like, no, but like I get likes.
Yeah, they all get like 500 or like 600 likes on their pictures.
And I don't even know where they find them, but that's like what they go for is like all these followers. And I mean, yeah, we like to have followers too, but I don't really know that many people with that.
I want people that like know me to follow me, not some random person.
Right, but they don't even care because you're like, ooh, another follower.
I think it's become like a social thing for us to keep up with, but like in high school, middle school, they're at a very impressionable age. So like the fact that they cling to like social media so much at that point does make you wonder what they're gonna end up like when they're at our age. Like, will it just escalate more?
I feel like we were definitely on the cusp of like, because social media kind of became a bigger thing and when we got into high school. I'm kind of glad we didn't grow up with it in middle school because I feel like that would have like definitely changed the way.
See, I kind of did. I feel like with like AIM making your buddy profile, was that just like us making your buddy profile? Like I knew how to code, like your MySpace profiles and like picking the song and all that like background. Yeah, I feel like that's all about more intense. Yeah, I feel like it was just different in our generation because I feel like my sister, who's a senior in high school, she doesn't know anything. Like she's almost like computer retarded. I almost feel like I don't understand. That's horrible to say. Like she doesn't know anything about technology.
So like,
I don't know
what
if it's like a
negative
generation
effects do
thing.
y'all see like from the smartphone? Do y'all see any at all, or do you think that it's fine?
What?
What negative effects do you think the smartphone causes on y'all's like relationships or anything? Like, do you see any effects or no?
I mean, everything we've just said, it's like taking the chivalry out of dating. Like, we don't have as many close personal connections. Like, we may not be as closely connected with our family members. Maybe we're like so engulfed in like getting likes and like feeling validated that we like focus on that all the time.
Do y'all think the positives outweigh the negatives?
Yeah.
I think
I
it's
think it's
correctly.
I
also,
do.
yeah, and it's also come to where it's like it's a part of our lives, so we don't even notice the positives or the negatives anymore. We like are aware of them, but in our day-to-day life, we're not like, oh yeah, like this is a huge negative. We should probably all throw away our phones.
Right, being like, oh, being on my phone right now is making the person next to me feel this way. Like, you just
Yeah.
don't think about it.
And two, I think you have to also think about the positives, like the maps and like the internet. Like, so if you're out, you can look up anything. And I know, like, even my grandparents are so impressed by that. Like, if you want to know something, I can find it
But
for you in
what
30
positives
seconds.
does it have like on your relationships?
Well, I guess it's
I guess like long distance
Just
relationships,
communication.
like we said,
Yeah.
like when communication in person isn't feasible, and that's really your only option is through like smartphones and FaceTime. But if it's someone that you're with all the time, then I don't think it's like.
Yeah.
I think the negatives would probably outweigh the positives.
I think it's more positive as long as you're like conscious of the negatives that like could become negative and avoid them. If that makes any sense. Like if you know you're sitting next to somebody and you maybe should just talk to them, then the positives definitely outweigh it. But people who are just growing up with these phones and like completely ignore that, then yeah, it's a huge negative.
Do you think it's going to become such a norm that people will have that voice in their head? Will say, maybe you should put your phone down now, or do you think it's just going to be to the point where it's going to be the custom, like it's going to be traditional to have phones out at the dinner table?
It's definitely gonna be custom. Did you hear about that street in, I think it's in China? They like created 2 lanes for people with their phones and people without their phones. Like if you're walking with your phone, you have to walk in this lane because you walk too slow and you're distracted. Like it's becoming the norm.
She's on Reddit.
No, I don't look at Reddit.
I think we are like the last of the last to have the voice in our heads.
Yeah.
And then from here on out, it's gonna be just a part of life. And like, it is kind of sad that like there are more and more things coming out that are making it a part of life, like iPads at restaurants on each table, like stuff like that. That is facilitating it in a negative way when we could be using it like to our advantage. But like now the voice is going to be like slowly slipping, because like I have the voice in my head like put down your phone like right now, but like I don't see that with like younger cousins and like family friends and stuff like that.
Well, also because technology is not ever gonna like regress. It's always gonna keep going to like the next new thing. Oh, the new iPhone 6. Oh my God, what's the iPhone 7 gonna have? Like, I mean, it's all about like for like Apple and all that. Like, it's all about the money for them and what's gonna sell. And like, I don't ever see that like stopping, or like them ever like a big enough like change gonna happen where people are gonna stop. Like even with like touchscreen desktop computers, like that's really not necessary, but everyone just like thinks it's so cool because it's new technology, and I just think like it's never gonna end.
So what does that say for your all's children? Do you think that they're going to be able to make friends at school face-to-face, or go into a networking event and not feel anxiety when they have to meet people professionally?
It's gonna be a lot harder.
Yeah,
I think it'll be a lot harder.
I think it depends on like how you raise them. Like if you like don't want to have to play, like have to like, what is it? Like entertain them, so you're gonna put an iPad in front of them with a movie, so you don't. I mean, I'm guilty of that babysitting. I plop them down in front of the TV just so I don't have to like play with them. But like another thing that I do think is good, another thing that I do think is good though is like I was telling Macy about it, is that it was on like the news. It's a little boy with autism who had really hard trouble communicating, but he loves talking to Siri. And like that sounds kind of weird, but like if that's what it's gonna take to get this little boy to like start communicating better, then like that's cool. And like my sister, she's going for speech pathology, and she has like apps on her phone that have like different activities set up that kids can play on an iPad to like help. So stuff like that is almost helping with communication.
Yeah,
but it's on technology. Not that it has to be on technology, but that's kind of like a new like upcoming thing.
It definitely just depends on how you were raised, because one of my best friends didn't get text messaging until she was like a senior in high school, and so like she had to pick up the phone and call somebody every time she wanted to talk to them. And I think that like now she's just not a huge texter. I mean, she has it, but she doesn't sit there and like there'll be times where I like can't get up with her for like an hour or like 2 hours because she just doesn't have her phone with her. And so like what you said, it just depends on how you like you're raised and how we decide to raise our children. If we decide to put that, like give them an iPhone at age 6, then yeah, they're gonna have a dependency on it.
I think it does, like, like to an extent, but also like if their friends are all, if they all have phones and stuff too, then they're gonna want it too. Like I babysit a family, and the boy's 10 years old, and like his friends all have phones now. He's like, well, Mom, I want a phone. And like when they have friends come over to play for play dates, they just want to sit all on their devices and like play like whatever, I don't even know, like whatever games they have, like play against each other instead of like playing outside or like using their imagination to do something. So it's just, I don't know, I definitely think it will be a struggle for like future generations too, just from what I see now.
Yeah, I definitely think it'll be tough, like being a mom, like obviously it's kind of like a popularity thing, like Kayla's the newest thing. And so like if I don't let my kid have a phone till, I don't know, 6th or 7th grade, well, and all their friends do, it's gonna look bad on me. And I feel
yeah,
like
and like that, but also like if they're going over to their friend's house and like their friends do have a phone or they have like an iPad or something to play with, and like then they're playing it there, so they still are getting that exposure too. So I mean, you can limit it as much as you want, but I think like eventually they'll still be exposed to it at some level.
What if like they don't even go over to their friend's house?
Well, yeah, that's
like they just communicate via internet, like they play like on little, I don't know, social networks. I feel like that's gonna happen.
I would be curious to see like the generation coming up would be a true test of like, is it a maturity thing? Like will they grow out of it whenever they get to our age and like finally come to this realization that these like communication skills are important, or is it just gonna like get worse and worse? Because they are at an age where it's like this like being popular and everything is like their whole life, and as I mean, I'm sure y'all can say that like as you come to college and stuff, you start to realize like what's actually important. I'd be curious to see if they like turn into that also, or if it just gets worse.
That would be something interesting.
It'll be interesting too to see how like jobs require, like right now jobs are so like you have to have like great communication skills and stuff, but like as technology advances, like is that going to change? And so then are they like, do they have that incentive to have those communication skills and like get mature when they're in college? Like I don't know, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's true for me. So I just have a couple of follow-up questions for you guys. I know we talked about how smartphones kind of take like the chivalry aspect out of dating, but besides the dating process itself, do you like see, or like do you get annoyed when like your boyfriend or a guy that you're talking to or a girl you're talking to, like you check their Snapchat top friends and like you see someone else up there, or you see like they've been like maybe like Facebook chatting someone, like how does, besides the dating process, if you already are dating or interacting with someone, how do like the apps themselves or having the smartphones maybe you see a miscommunication or?
I mean, you literally see everyone's life like so up close. So like their Snapchat best friends, that's probably going to give you like a pretty good idea of who they've been interacting with on a regular basis, and that's something everyone can see. So like you get up close and personal with their life, and it's like you could hide that before, but now it's,
sometimes it's a little too personal though.
Yeah.
It's something that if I hadn't seen it, and it's not something I should necessarily be mad about because it's pretty stupid that they're like Facebook chatting someone, it's pretty irrelevant, but like I see it and I get mad. I'm like, well, that was really dumb. But
then there's also people who like don't really Snapchat and they'll send like 2, and then the person will be like on their top friends.
Or
Or you don't have to send them, you can just get them.
No, yeah, you can just get them, but like I've like Snapchatted people, like one of my guy friends from high school doesn't really do it. I sent him like 1 or 2 and I was like, he's never won.
Yeah.
So it like looks like we have been Snapchatting, but it's just like, but you just get, when you just see that and you don't know how many times they've been Snapchatting, you're like, well, they're on their top friends, so obviously they've been, but that's like, but that's just how we think, and
But
it's
have
like.
your smartphones to like cause fights in your relationships?
I don't say.
Can you think of an example?
I could say
I don't think we don't fight,
but it definitely brings
best friend over summer with that girl, and I was like, oh cool, Snapchat best friend. And then we got a fight.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say,
I've definitely blocked some people from their Snapchat.
I just have heard of people get in like huge like blow up fights of like they were texting this girl, like, well, what were they texting about? They're like, I don't know, but they were texting, so I'm mad. It's just,
I almost think it backs up to trust too. Like if you really trust the person, your social media or who they're talking to shouldn't matter. And I guess like it's back to like our parents, like they didn't have that issue, and like my dad could have gone and done whatever he wanted, and my mom would have no idea. So it's just kind of like it's the foundation of like trust, and if you
sometimes it kind of makes you force yourself to like realize that you trust them. You have to like think through it, like what you're doing is really stupid right now. Like why is this happening?
Yeah.
Because it's right in front of you.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know, kind of makes you more conscious of those things.
But does it make you feel uncomfortable to think that like you guys might be monitored in your relationship, like on the reverse end, like your boyfriend may be looking at your Snapchat?
Yeah.
I guess, but at the same time, I feel like he can get a look through my phone, and I have nothing to hide, so it just kind of goes with like the trust thing.
I feel like sometimes people also like egg it on by like making posts like, oh, I am here right now. There's nothing you can do about it, and you're gonna see it. And yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a good tool. Like, if you want to get at somebody, you can definitely post something just to like show off to somebody or like push somebody's buttons or something like that. But
it also just makes it more obnoxious getting in and out of relationships. Like, if you get out of a relationship, you're like, I'm gonna post all these fabulous pictures of myself. It's like, do we really care that much?
But then you also like stalk them to see like what they're doing.
Exactly. Yeah, which makes
I know,
which is like terrible, but that's just like.
I think it's intensified, like breaking up with somebody.
For sure, everything's intensified.
So do you think it's normal now that if you go through a breakup, you delete all of their social media?
You can try.
I think you should, but you don't.
You should if you can't stop like looking at it.
But I think you should for you, but at the same time, it sort of seems immature that I have to like delete you from all these things.
Right, that you don't have like the
self-control. That could be like insulting to them. Like, it's just another like lack of communication. Like, if I like unfriended you, that could be really insulting.
Yeah.
When I really just did it for myself, but I don't know.
So on a different subject, Leah, you said that sometimes like you'll be on your phone to avoid small talk and avoid eye contact. I'm sure that's a similar sentiment for everyone. But why do you feel the need to avoid that small interaction?
Because it's awkward.
Why is it awkward?
I think it's awkward because you haven't had that communication to begin with.
Yeah.
Like, it's either someone where you had a miscommunication and it was a fight, or if it's someone you met out and it's really awkward to see them now. It's because of that lack of communication already that having to communicate with them, even in a small setting, is like awkward. But that all goes back to communication in the first place.
And yeah, a lot of it's like social skills too. A lot of times when I do that, it's because I know somebody, but I've only talked to them like once or twice.
Yeah.
But it's like, I don't want to say, hey, but at the same time, I know that I should, so it's like
Yeah,
a lot
you
of,
don't wanna
it's like
look
a
rude.
social, but.
And then it's like if you've seen them out or met them out, it's like, do they remember me? Or am I just another face? Or, oh, I don't know her name, things like that.
Or it's like, you know that like y'all have met once and you might be friends on Facebook, but it's like, do I really know this person and want to say hi? Like, there's a difference between Facebook friends and real friends.
That's true, and I think social
Sad
media
reality
has like intensified that. It's like, oh, we're Facebook friends. Like, there's this girl I'm Facebook friends with, and I'm pretty sure she doesn't know who I am, but I like stalk her a lot. I'm not gonna say her name.
So do you think that like your reliance on your smartphone makes you less likely to put yourself out there in social situations?
I think it
Less
depends on
likely
the
to say hi to
situation.
people. Less likely to make eye contact with people, or
I think it depends.
I don't know, yeah.
I don't think it depends on the
Like,
situation.
Yeah, like if I just see somebody that I like know, like I'm not like super close with, but I know, I'll say hey, like I'm just passing them. But if it's like we're walking the same route, like we're going to class and like we're gonna be walking the same way, like I don't want to like talk to you like the whole way to class because like I don't know what to say. So I'll like pretend like I'm on the phone, or like I'll just like text or like make up something so I don't have
Also
to.
with strangers, like I don't know, like if you're in an elevator with someone you don't know, like
You immediately
you always like I don't know, I like grab my phone and I'm like I need the like I don't want to say hi to them or anything. I don't know.
Well, see, and that's the thing is like you don't even like have to talk on an elevator, and like so it's not even weird to not look at your phone and not talk, but yet we still feel the need to be like.
Yeah.
And
so
now
so it shows why you're not talking to them, but you don't have to talk to them. But like I do that every time.
Or now, if a stranger does talk to you, you're like, wow, you're really weird.
Yeah,
Why are you
like why
talking
are you
to me?
talking to me? It's like, which is just like them being nice, and that's the thing. Like that's good communication skills, but.
I know, I've like caught myself, I've definitely, because I noticed that I have been more like shy seeing people or whatever, but then like, I remember the other day at the gas station, it was when we were going to Zach Brown Band, there was a guy with an Ohio license plate next to me. I knew he went to UNC, and I just like made small talk with him. I was like, I need to like say something, just being out of state or something, and it was just a very small conversation, and that was it. But I was like, good for me, because I normally wouldn't say anything. I just like looked at my phone, because we made eye contact, I was like, oh, I don't need to say anything, and then I did. I was proud of myself. But that's sad, that's like a big step.
Right, to like put yourself out there.
Would you say that's probably the same for everyone else? Is like if you kind of start making small talk with someone you barely know or don't know, that would be kind of a rare thing.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
I remember someone was walking at me from like a far distance, and that's always awkward because like you see each other, you're like the only.
But you have to like.
What am I gonna do? But I actually didn't have my phone with me, so I just like did like a big face. It was so good because they were so excited. Like, wow, she's being so nice today. We had like a little conversation. And I kept on my merry way. I was like, wow, that was so great. Like, I did so well.
Like you have to make a decision to like be nice that day,
Yeah.
like say hi to people. And
Because
stuff.
sometimes if you just decide to do it, you feel so good.
I love doing it. And when people like start a conversation the first time, it's like, I love it, but it's like, I didn't expect that to happen.
Yeah.
But I'll start a
Like,
conversation with
I
people.
love talking, like, if strangers, like, the summer I was in DC and I rode the metro, and, like, strangers would just, like, talk to me. And I was like, this is so fun to just talk to, like, a random stranger. But, like, would I ever start the conversation? Like, probably not.
Right.
So.
And another thing too, I feel like if you pass someone, like in situations we talked about, if you don't do it the first time, then you can't do it.
Yeah, you set the standard now.
Because like, why'd you not say hi the first time?
Right.
Or like with class, you pass the exact same people
Yeah.
every
That is
day.
the worst.
It's just like, hi again, like, good to see you. Have fun in class. See you tomorrow.
Reward, like when you do put yourself out there, why don't you do it more?
Like, have
I think
to
somebody
push
should get
yourself.
scared depending on who the person is.
It's
Yeah, I
like
get
jumping in a cold
nervous.
pool. You like have to make yourself, but probably not.
One too, I think goes back to your personality. Like if you're super outgoing, like Macy's super outgoing, will say hi to anybody. But like I'm not as outgoing, so I'm gonna be like, oh, I don't know them that well.
Yeah, it really is like a personality thing.
Yeah, like someone can be
Different
super
for different
introverted, like not talk in class, and then someone else, you know those people that are like always raising their hand in class, and you're just like, I'm not that person.
That's all the questions. Cool. Anyone else have any questions? Cool.
Thank you.
guys.
Thanks for the food.
Yeah. I hope we were good for y'all.